Hi everybody. So last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about the changes that needed to be made for the Nakamoto release of Stacks with regards to the Stacks contract. And so I thought we would today talk about what we found and any research on what needs to be done. And then the second thing is there's a proposal from Consul to try to make a BNS community on Consul. And I thought I'd see what everybody thought about what we could do with that to get that more visibility. If you're not in that, I can send a link for you to join. Hank, do you want to kick it off? I see you shared a link to GitHub.
Sure, yeah, and that plan sounds good. Yeah, so to catch everyone up, with the Nakamoto upgrade, there will be faster blocks. And in Clarity, there's this keyword called block height. And BNS and many other, or some other number of contracts use this block height keyword to sort of like roughly measure time, assuming that one block is roughly 10 minutes. And in Nakamoto, with faster blocks, there's a discussion about whether block height will basically still mean what it is, as in stacks block height, but thus move a lot faster. And since BNS relies on it for expirations and some other things, it's kind of a really critical change because essentially names would expire like 120 times faster than, or more than that. I don't know, very fast. So I've been in contact, mainly on GitHub with some of the core team members. I shared a link. It's really, I'm trying to respectfully kind of be like, hey, can we just get an answer, on whether or not this will be the case? The only thing that I've really gotten on that is like, basically saying until otherwise said, this change will occur, and so BNS will be kind of broken. But then I don't know. There's also discussion about worker other solutions. So I don't have a clear answer yet. I don't know. You can read the discussion for more.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I spent a bunch of time going through the GitHub repo as well, and found it pretty difficult to like get a single like page view of like what are the changes between this piece and the previous one. So maybe that's just some general feedback we can share with the core team. I've shared a link to the BNS chat on Console. And so Chris was interested in creating a community around that. I didn't really know what everybody else thought. I mean, my sort of feeling was that's great, add some usefulness to BNS. But of course, then like it's another chat client. And I personally have trouble keeping up with all the existing ones. So I'd like to hear what you guys think. Yeah, no, this is exactly. I do dislike Discord, Mark. And I seem to not be the only one. There was a really great thread this week by Lane about problems with Discord. I think it keeps a lot of people out of conversations.
Yeah, where are people hanging out right now for BNS? In Discord?
I think there are different groups of people, different places.
Yeah. Where's like the most potent group hanging out today?
On Discord, there's the BNS DAO Discord, as they've said, and I'd say it's very much the largest spot for like community members. Not a lot of like, I don't know, discussion, from like builders, although there is that as well.
Oh, interesting. So it's kind of like traders.
Yeah.
Got it. Interesting. Maybe we just ask them if they would want to move to console. They might want to, might not want to. That might close out this topic. Not
yeah.
Rush over.
Or we could say, hey, we're moving to console, and then see if they do it instead of asking if they want to.
Yeah.
The risk there is that you bifurcate the community and some churn where they otherwise wouldn't.
That's fine. I'm not there anyway, so I don't really care.
Yeah, my thought is kind of like, um, it's a pretty large, relatively Discord, and I think saying, hey, like let's force everyone to move over is, I don't know, tricky,
Totally.
or like maybe
Well, I don't
doubtful.
think you need to force. I think you just say, hey, like there's this
Yeah.
chat that like this is the thing you're speculating on, you're investing in, or you're interested in, and this is like this chat that like uses the thing that you like. So like, if you want, you can go over there and try it out.
Yeah. And I think a different way to phrase it can also be that, hey, this console, I don't know if we need to necessarily say it's like for builders or something, but we could say, hey, it's not really about speculation. We want to kind of, I don't know.
Well, maybe you
yeah.
lean into the speculation. You're like, hey, everyone you talk to here owns the BNS name verifiably. So you're not dealing with a scammer or something like that.
Yeah, Patrick, are you using this for one of your communities?
Yes. Yes, and I can say from experience, it's really great what they've built so far, but it is a slightly deteriorated experience, and I think that's enough for people to really need a true native like Web3 use case to move over there. Like if you're just like, I'm just hopping over to that chat because people said so, like that, I don't think that's a good enough reason. And I think people would not hang around. Like they're basically you have to offer something that can't happen in Discord there. It's not like a 10x better product than Discord, unless people really value encryption, or they really value knowing that they're talking to someone else who has ownership in BNS or something like that. That's the two things I can think of so far. Maybe there's another one, but I think the job to be done is completed pretty easily with Discord as is.
I agree that the main value prop of console is just like the filtering of people who get into communities. So maybe BNS would benefit from that, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Do you think it's worth a try? I mean, like, I'm like, I mean, I have it running here. It doesn't, to me, it looks like a simpler, like a less cluttered Discord. So I don't know if it's 10x better, but it's like, I mean, it's just different, right? So it depends on what people like. Is it worth even bringing up as a discussion, or are we wasting time and goodwill?
I think it's a worthwhile discussion. I think it's like, is it, like it's great that it uses BNS. I like Chris, I like console. But are we sort of like going to be able to kind of build a community there? And so some sort of thoughtfulness around, like, I don't even know, are we going to need moderation? Who's responsible for that? How can we sort of like bootstrap this community? What should the narrative sort of be?
Yeah,
but also,
that's what I think Hank, you're right on that. I think that like there needs to be like a crisp narrative that is put forward. Otherwise, you're sort of debiting from the BNS community's sort of like trust. It's like you came to us. What did you come to us with?
that's a really good point. There's also I guess a question of in talking about growing community, like there's a relatively difficult onboarding process. I guess, I mean, like you needed to go through a specific path to get into it compared to, and there are some browsers that don't work, right? Because it only requires Hero Wallet or I'm sorry, Leather and or Xverse, right? So you can't, if you get on Safari, you get like this, like, oh, you need to like go use something else, right? As opposed to Discord, which is sort of like is frictionless no matter where you come from, like, and you probably already have it now. So
exactly. Why don't we just send a message saying, hey, for anyone that's interested, console can allow BNS gated chats. Do with that information what you will. And we kind of leave it at that for now. And see if anyone picks it up. You'll literally see the demand. They can like literally click a button and like make it happen, right?
Yeah, there's a link. The link we can just share the link that we just shared in the chat.
Cool. Maybe let's do that, because I feel like we probably spent a few more minutes on this topic than is like productively useful.
Cool. That sounds good to me. Okay. Well, I don't have anything else this week. I think we really need to get a better view into like what changes are going to be broken, like with this Nakamoto release. That seems to be like the really important topic at the moment.
I'd agree. I don't personally have, other discussion topics. Except for that, I think regardless of, even if this block height thing is a total non-issue, and let's assume there's like 0 other issues, it's still worthwhile, I think, to really pick up the momentum on the upgrade topic again, just because there's so many other benefits. I'm in touch with other people who are interested in building kind of like unique solutions on top of BNS, and they're sort of like limited by some of the things that I've included as potential upgrades or like potential features of the new BNS. So like there are many reasons to push forward and upgrade other than just this block height thing.
Do you have a sense, now that we're, I guess, 6 months into or more into like the L1, L2, like how things are playing out? I feel like Hank, you have the most visibility, and that you guys are sort of fingers in both layers. Do you still feel, do you see a threat from to L2 from L1?
Let's see. I don't know that I'd want to comment on sort of like threat angle. I mean,
But I
think
mean
it's, like,
threat, but
important.
like, do they see them as like competing or complementary?
Competing, yeah. I mean, I think on the same level that, with any like anything related to stacks is sort of competing with, various like L1 based or even other Bitcoin layer based, things. I think it's like, the one aspect of the upgrade that I haven't, came to a really solid, thought about is like whether or how we should incorporate like more L1 native, features. I've thought about various different approaches. They all have kind of like different pros and cons, but I think if we can come up with something that creates a much more like, unified experience, that would be like a really nice aspect of an upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like ignoring technology, but just like having namespaces where if you registered in L1, it just automatically appeared in L2. Feels like that would be like sort of like the holy grail of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the challenge is how to do that without some sort of like core layer function, sort of like how you can transfer stacks or stack stacks via L1 transactions. That's like because stacks nodes are like handling that sort of automatically. That would be the best. Something like that would be best, and then otherwise we'd have to build some sort of like sync layer, probably permissioned. Just you get into like further downsides.
I mean, is there anything we could concretely ask the core team for that would enable this? Like 1 or 2 features?
Yeah, I mean, something like we want to add another kind of like opcode that if you used in an op return, similar how you do with these other operations, it calls like some specific BNS contract function. I think something like that. I don't know. I suppose it's worth asking. It'd be best to sort of like, have something more specific than that.
Okay, well, I'm not like close enough to that to know what exactly we would need, but I mean, it seems like that would be I mean, I don't know if that would be part of the upgrade or before the upgrade, or if it's even too late given the amount of stuff that's going on in the Nakamoto release. Probably too late, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I think the ultimate would be like, and I, assuming it could be like implemented reasonably without adding too many downsides, would be something like, well, it's like something more generic where you can call kind of generic stacked contracts via Bitcoin operations. But I don't know, there's a lot of complexity there. And I think that would certainly not be in like Nakamoto.
Actually, I'm kind of surprised it wasn't already there from the beginning, but
yeah, I mean, how would
Two
you,
reasons.
if it involves like a yeah. I mean, for example, with BNS, like to register, well, then we'd also have to support, payment via BTC, and thus do you deal with this? Like, there's a lot of complexity. So I wouldn't. I definitely do understand why it's not an easy thing.
Okay.
Even just like from a factor of like for civil protection, you need to pay transaction fees, and you could argue that I don't know, the Bitcoin fees are relevant to that, but then it's not going to miners, so you kind of start to mess up some of the incentives. But I know that's just like one small angle.
Makes sense. Don, Gina, anything to add? You guys are very quiet.
No, I'm very interested in a BNS upgrade though. If and I looked over the information that Hank provided in the forum previously. I think that for us to kind of move forward in our naming system and with additional TLDs kind of being introduced, that I think we have to kind of push it forward and try to keep step with some of the other naming systems that are out there that have more flexibility built into it. So for me, that's an interesting topic. Curious how we can kind of push that one forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone just needs to write the update proposal and then like say, like, hey, this is what I wrote. Like, we're gonna like, do you guys want to like start using it at this block height? Sort of how it goes into goes in Bitcoin.
What do you think it would be better to do that on a individual feature basis, or just, hey, this is the chunk, are you in or out?
I don't know. I mean, I mean, given the small size of people involved, I would imagine probably doing it all as one would be easier. Because it's not like there's not as much, like it's more centralized than Bitcoin, right? There's fewer stakeholders involved at the moment, and so,
Mhm.
and I think we know from our previous discussions what like the contentious ones are, right?
Mhm.
So that would be easy for someone to say, hey, well, okay, I'm gonna just remove that thing I don't like and propose it as as a separate solution.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas if we do it all separately, you're basically gonna have like 6 or 7 changes that like everybody agrees on. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you just put those?
Yeah. Well, I've already started doing some work to clean up some of the forum posts that I've made and try and turn it into more of a proposal format. There's a lot to do on that, but yeah, that's something that's been a much bigger priority for me, especially with this block height stuff. But as I said, I think it's also just important no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. Hank, I can work on that with you as well.
Okay, fantastic.
And I think it'd be good if we potentially share that with the broader community at like a SIP call or something. I think we don't necessarily need to follow the upgrade paths that other SIPs have taken, but if we basically said, you know, the proposal for this SIP is to go live alongside the next hard fork, and just sort of getting more buy-in from a larger sector of the community could be beneficial. And I can work with you, Hank, on that in terms of sort of the SIP process or just getting time for that with the ongoing calls that happen.
I think that'd be great. Absolutely.
That was an interesting idea. I hadn't thought of trying to do it at the same time as the Nakamoto fork. I don't know if that's what you were suggesting, Gina, but I sort of interpret it as that. That would be interesting to think about. Like, on one hand, maybe it's too.
That's the drop dead timeline, right? That it would have to go live.
Well, it depends on the answer that we get from about the block height, right? If the block height isn't changing and isn't a problem, then it's not really a drop dead date.
Yeah, but I think Gina, you're probably right. I think like even if this block height thing happens, there's ways to like create an upgrade that like is shipped before Nakamoto, because they're, you know, instead of using block height, you can use burn block height, which like won't change because that'll always mean Bitcoin height. But I don't know actually yet like what other Clarity related changes will be made. So it's possible that like, oh, there's something that we really, you know, want that will be in Nakamoto, and at which point it would be like, okay, let's do this on day one of Nakamoto. But that's just something to further figure out. Like, for example, one of the forum posts is about SBTC and supporting paying for name registrations with SBTC, like maybe for new namespaces, maybe for .btc or something. Obviously, like if we wanted to do that, we'd have to wait till Nakamoto.
Would that be like you convert into Bitcoin to get into SBTC and then register a name on BNS?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if nobody has anything else, I think that's pretty good for this week. Let's I guess reconvene in 2 weeks and see where we are.
Actually, one last thought, Larry. I don't know if you've seen this post on like the Stacks Network discussions GitHub about changes to working groups. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And
I did. I was just reading it earlier today. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, then we can just, I don't know, handle that async. I don't know if you have thoughts or whatever. Just wanted to make sure you've seen that.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I just don't. I mean, I don't know actually what the. I mean, what and like in regards to that, like what are your thoughts about that?
I don't know. I mean, are you the lead of this working group?
It's just called a working group. It has nothing to do with the Stacks Foundation.
Right.
Like,
right.
Like there's I read through it and I just thought like, wow, there's a lot of like bureaucratic like complexity and whatever's going on here.
Yeah. And
I just created a reoccurring meeting so that we can like get people thinking about this regularly and like have notes created. I mean, if it makes sense to like integrate this into like whatever the Stacks Foundation is running, that's fine. But like a lot of like, I think Jude's comment on one of the things was like some of the suggestions sounds like a lot of work, and I definitely feel like that. Like it does feel like work having to post notes and do this stuff every week. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if someone wants to look into that and says, hey, like this makes more sense to be part of that, I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, I think it's just like we should ask, you know, I definitely see the value of like having a more cohesive way for people to like get visibility into these different work streams, and also just be able to get more visibility and involvement in BNS. So from that aspect, I think, you know, could be pretty useful. Yeah.
Cool. Well, let me know if you have any actionable steps on that. Cool. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. Later.
Uh,
Yeah. Hello.
We need to. We're just hanging out.
Yeah, no worries. Yo, Jason and I had an idea yesterday that I think is. Oh, hey.